Hi, I'm Sam Taggart with Can't Knock This, and I'm here with Brady Nelson, CEO of Radiant Smart Home and Regal Satellite. I'm super excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited too, man.
This will be fun. So,
love the forum, love it all.
Yeah, so started back in 2000?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how'd you get started?
Well, my first year in door-to-door was, 2000. I was up at Rick's College, and back in those days, it was really only pest control, and I met some guys doing pest. Was interested in something new. I wanted to do it, and so I got hired by Eclipse Marketing. Back then, they didn't hire everybody.
Oh yeah, OGs. Dude, Eclipse.
Way OGs, and it was a really good company. Tons and tons of reps. And my first summer, I remember just not really knowing what I was getting into. Got in my car, went out to Washington D.C. and put in my first summer. It was awesome.
The grind.
It was.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the journey from 2000 up till today.
Okay.
So today you're running a satellite / solar / kind of a dealer, jack of all trades.
Whatever else I can sell.
Yeah, whatever you can sell. So it sounds like you've sold everything in the book. Yeah, what have you sold over the years?
Well, my first 2 summers I was doing, when we were selling for Eclipse, we sold for Orkin. So I did pest, and I became a satellite dealer right after graduation from BYU. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall. As soon as alarms became a thing, the money that was it was just so much different than pest. And for a time, they came in and swallowed everybody. That was the first time signing bonuses were going out, like 01, 02.
Yeah.
And it just changed the game. So after I graduated, I moved home and started back to Spokane, Washington, started my satellite deal up there, and really tried to stay away from Utah as much as possible. And you don't have to compete for reps.
It was so saturated back then, right? So many reps were just getting gobbled up.
Well, it's so much different.
I know.
Today it's like you can't even go down there. But
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, back then we could stand on the corner of BYU and we could go on campus and recruit guys. You can't do that now, but that was years ago. But went up there, was doing satellite. I got into ADT in about maybe 04, 05, something like that. And then, did alarms, got into cable as well. Mortgages before the meltdown. We were doing mortgages door to door.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'd knock on somebody's door and be like, hey, do you want to refi?
Yeah, exactly. Because at the time, the market, this is like 05, and we were having guys down here in Southern California, and at that time, when you did a mortgage that was like a kind of a crap mortgage, like an adjustable, or the worse loan it was, the more money you got. And so we would knock on $1 million, $2 million homes, and that's a big commission if you can get that. We ended up only getting a couple in like 4 months. I was renting a beach home for my guys, and for sure they did more beaching than selling. But California got hit by that crisis first, and then it kind of infected the rest of the country. So we were down here, and I wish I would have known how to take advantage of a collapse before it happened, but I didn't. So
The Big Short, right?
The Big Short, it's exactly. So I did that, and then in 2005, after a few years in satellite, I had some money in my pocket, and I got this kind of a hunch that I wanted to do something different. I always thought door-to-door was a great way to build skill, and I'm an entrepreneur guy at heart, and I was wanting something new, so I got this hunch to buy an Arena Football League franchise, and in 2005, went down to New Orleans or Atlanta, I forget where we were. It was actually New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina happened that next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You were there during?
I was there. And we got out the next day. We actually got the day it was coming, we got out. But
wow.
Anyway, that's when I bought my team.
So, Arena Football. Tell us about this journey of owning an Arena Football team. I mean, you were the youngest pro football owner at the time. Or ever.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if ever, but for sure at the time in the United States, of course, no one young is owning an NFL team. And in the United States, there's NFL and there's Arena. Those are the 2 pro leagues. So I was actually reading the Wall Street Journal one day, and there was an article on like minor league Arena football. And I remember reading that article, and it talked about football in kind of some mid-tier type towns. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Birmingham, stuff like that. I'm like, interesting. then I saw this Bon Jovi commercial on TV. He owned a team, and John Elway owned a team. EA Sports launched a video game. I'm like, well, maybe this is kind of interesting. So I actually searched online. I'm like, what if there's a team in my town I just don't know about it? Like, I'm kind of bored. And my brother was going through cancer treatments, and he couldn't go outside. So we were waiting until he could be healthy enough to go to a game. So I'm like, let's go to an arena game. Is there one here? Well, when do they play? And there wasn't one. So I just called the arena and said, how much does it cost to rent your building? And kind of started a conversation from that, and talked to a few leagues, and kind of went from there.
That's cool.
Yeah. So in 2005, it was $250,000, and it was like basically all the money I had.
So you took all your summer sales money, basically.
Well, at that time, I was a satellite company.
Yeah.
So I took we were doing year-round, even through the snow up there. But yeah, it was at the end of a summer. It was like August. So got it in a cashier's check, got on a plane, went to Louisiana, and...
Give me a football team.
Yeah, basically.
So you had to... So let's kind of go into that. So building a football team, if you think about it, it's much like door-to-door. It's like you had to almost recruit your top talent, retain your top talent, manage your top talent, coach and develop your top talent, and then you eventually broke off and did another football team in Portland, right?
Yep.
So tell us kind of about how you started your team, I guess you could say.
Well, so once, excuse me, once I bought my franchise, that's really when the real work began. We brainstormed, found a name. It was the Spokane Shock. Went through a trademark process, got that, and now we're like, okay, we have to. The skill level of the guys is they're former college athletes, kind of All-Americans, and guys who are either late round NFL draft picks or free agent signings. So the guys that you follow at whatever school you go to that don't get drafted but were really good, they get signed by an NFL team, they go to training camp, they make it all the way through to the last cut. The guys at the very end of that, there's something like 1,000 guys cut on that last day per year. So of those 1,000, the 100 best of those are playing arena next year.
So is it kind of like, and this is just like what's going through my head.
Yeah.
You're at BYU campus.
Yep.
You got these like really sharp cats that are broke.
Yeah.
And you just walk in, they're like, man, I just didn't get that job. I just didn't get that interview. And you like shoulder tap them. You're like, hey man, I got something for you.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? Is it like you sitting at the end of the locker room being like, I know you just got cut, but how about this? I mean, is that how recruiting is? Or I mean,
it's very similar.
Yeah.
Except none of them want to. Maybe like when you first trying to recruit a guy to door-to-door, like, dude, I'm not doing door-to-door. Like, I'm way above that. Time goes by, and they're like, you know what, maybe I'm not, and maybe I'll do it. So the minute they get cut by their NFL team, they are all waiting for that call that never comes. So you call them, you plant that seed, and then 6 months later, when no one's called and they realize the NFL season's going, and if I don't do something now, I'm done. So when they get cut, they either go back home. I have guys that go back to University of Miami. I had a guy who played for the Hurricanes, and he said, no, I'm not coming. He was All-American receiver. Now he's a receiver coach at Tennessee. But he said, no. And his brother got shot down in Miami, and he's like, I'm coming. Where are you guys? And we're like, hey, we're Spokane, Washington. We fly him up, and he was like, hey, man, where's the White House? And we're talking.
Oh, he thought he
was going to Washington, D.C.
He's on a plane to Washington. He's like, wait a minute, this plane ride seems a little longer than I should.
No clue. He's like, where's the White House? I'm like, the White House? What do you mean?
Oh, man.
Like, where's the president? I'm like, wrong Washington, but man, we got you here. So, yeah, it's a lot like that, and you just kind of got to get the best possible guys you can. And where we were successful, so we were all young guys. Once I paid my money, I'm like, I need to get some partners on here. So my very best friend, he joined with me, and it was time to start recruiting a coach and recruiting players. And I was just recently enough at BYU to know that guys watching football, knowing how good they were there, saw what they did, and said, okay, if I can get a guy about that good or better, I think I'll have a good team. So our first year, yeah.
So how did you recruit? Because let's say you're a first-year manager or a startup company that's never existed.
Yeah.
How do you recruit people to something that's never existed? It's not like, hey, we're the best arena football team in the league right now. We're the Yankees. Come play for us. Yeah. Where a lot of people have that advantage, but I think the majority are startup manager, new team, first year company, and now they're saying, come play for us. We're going to be the baddest Spokane team that'll exist, and we're going to dominate.
Which no one's from there.
Yeah.
And no one even knows where we were.
Yeah.
No one's ever heard of us. And we're young.
Move to Spokane.
Yeah, and we're young. We were so much younger, and so we had to sell them on. So we were able to hire a coach who was experienced, and he had success, but kind of had an off year. He got fired, and we interviewed lots of guys. One thing you'll know, if you're in football, you want to stay in football, and they'll do anything to stay in football. So coaches, players.
Well, it's so funny. I mean, you started in 2000.
Yeah.
It's 2017.
Yeah.
And you're still in door-to-door.
Oh, yeah.
And what's crazy is most door-to-door people, when they're like, it's almost like the opposite. Like, kids grow up and like, I'm going to be in the NFL, and I'm going to be like the best. And then they realize, oh, life happens, and you're not going to play in the NFL. But that's all that they are, and that's their identity, and they keep in that because it's like a drug.
Yep.
Door-to-door sales, I find, is almost the same. It's like our lifestyle is so good, the income is so great, even though it's up and down half the time. And I'm living broke, but somehow I have this pipe dream that I'm going to like.
I know if I really went after it, I could make a lot of money.
Yeah, and that keeps them in.
That's the dangle.
It's the dangle. It's like, oh, but I know my buddy, he's making $2 million every, or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So it's crazy because the parallel here is so interesting because you get this guy that, had this aspiration of being in the NFL, and like every college grad, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. Yeah. I'm gonna start this multi-billion-dollar company and sell it and live on the beach where we're at right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so you guys know, we are literally sitting. What is this city even called?
This is Rancho Palo Verdes.
Rancho Palo Verdes at this like beautiful mansion. This is
beachfront.
Beachfront. Just so you know, this is amazing.
Right next to Trump National. Right
Trump
here.
National
Golf course.
So beautiful setting. If you're watching this or listening, on the podcast, you're listening to this. You're probably like, you wouldn't even know.
The ocean's in the background.
The ocean is in the background, and it is legit. So anyway, everybody has this pipe dream, and what we find is we create this identity. And what I find, and we'll talk about this in a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Your identity was, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And you started all these little, football team here, satellite company, solar.
Yep.
And eventually we're going to get into the springboard of how door-to-door has springboarded your career in multiple facets. But I kind of want to stay on the train of recruiting and developing these NFLs.
Yeah.
So the first play that you did was find the right coach.
Yes.
So you found the right coach. You interviewed all these people. So if you were to apply that to door-to-door, who would be your coach if you're developing a team or a company?
It'd be your sales manager, your manager. And I found someone who was hungry. He really wanted to get back in. He had something to prove. So we were young, so we wanted someone who was okay taking orders from a younger person, because our coach is like 40.
Yeah.
And anyone who's been around who's good is not going to be probably younger than you at that time. So we wanted someone who would be okay with that, first of all. Secondly, that command a lot of respect, who could probably win. You don't make that kind of investment and put all your time into it if you don't want to put on a good product. And we wanted someone who really could sell us that they could recruit. So it's actually very similar. The nice thing about that is you're actually offering salaries instead of just commission only to the guys. But somebody who was really hungry, we hired a lot of guys, and a lot of guys really, had good qualities. But this one guy that we hired, it seemed to me he was the most hungry to prove everyone wrong. And we thought, this is the guy we want because he's going to come in here and just steamroll and go for it. So he had a lot of connections. He started calling guys. He was from the South, so he had recently coached in Georgia, and so he started pulling in guys. And when we were getting on the radio and on TV and everything, promoting our team, he was able to bring in a couple big name schools, and so we really started hyping that up, and that kind of caught fire. And
so what was your call to Spokane? Like, what did you use as your ace? Like, hey, we have this and we're going to be better at this? Or did you have, because in recruiting, one thing is most people have some kind of like, we're the best at this.
It's usually the most money. It's like, hey, we pay the most.
Or we pay the most.
That's almost always what everyone says.
So could you pay the most?
No, everyone was fixed. What our guys got, so a guy who plays his final NFL preseason game, He comes and plays in arena. He gets $250 a game, $50 if you win. You get free housing, you get 3 meals a day, and you get like $38 cash when you go on the road. So we would fly to like
oh man,
Amarillo, Texas, and they loved it though. $38 the day we left, 38 there and 38 back, and so they would basically not eat. Typical for these
living
guys
on like top ramen, and these guys got to stay in peak physical. I mean, that's how much protein powder costs a month. Like, it's like, what?
You're talking specimens of athletes. I mean, incredible athletes. We got that year. We had the Pac-10's name's Charles Frederick. The Pac-10's all-time leading return man, yardage man. Played for the Washington Huskies, and we were in Fresno playing a game. He didn't eat, so he could save up his money for the club after. And he literally fell asleep in our pregame meal. He fell asleep, face in the soup, dead asleep. We get to the arena. He's asleep at the arena, and I'm like, "What do we do, man?"
This is the top 10 guy.
He's like maybe one of the best players in the league. And my buddy is like, "Dude, we got to do something here." And he's like, "I think I'm hungry." I'm like, "Finally." So we went and got him some protein bars, got him some Gatorade, gave it to him. And that game, he had 7 touchdowns.
Holy cow.
Picked one off, scored. Picked up a fumble and scored, caught a couple kickoff return, and ran one in. I mean, like, incredible. But anyway, so how we recruited at the beginning was different than how we recruited in our later years.
I was gonna say because you don't have a track record off in the later years. I mean, you ran it for 10 years, right?
Yeah, 9. I sold it in my 9th.
So, what was the recruiting strategy at the beginning to get At
the beginning, we didn't really talk about ourselves a whole lot because. Fortunately, none of these guys knew anything about arena football, so we were just another team. And they didn't know that there might be teams with history, or that Bon Jovi owned a team, or John Elway owned a team. They didn't know the difference. And they actually didn't know who those guys were, because you're talking about a totally different demographic. So we'd call them up, and like we had the guy that thought we were in Washington, D.C., and he was an All-American receiver.
Kind of thing?
Yeah, so we just got him there. But our first year, we excuse me, we went 17-2. We won the league. First year.
Wow.
Yeah, we won the league. We played our championship game in Puerto Rico. We all went down to San Juan. We had like 73 people on our staff. We all went down there and had a record-setting epic game. But what propelled us future was, guys, the money is not enough, so they want to play and get film, but they want to play where they're recognized. So we were able to, for my second game ever, we sold out every single game, 10,458 seats. For the next 7 years, we sold out every single game. So when they came to our arena, when they played, it was total chaos, total pandemonium in there. I mean, it's like, because the sideline is a wall and fans can sit in the front row, it's so loud, like you can feel it on your chest, like pounding. So it was a super fun atmosphere. So once we got that word out there, and we were recruited, say, hey man, we all get paid the same, you might as well come and play where you're going to be a celebrity.
Okay.
So we were able to parlay that to, over the next 5 years, we won the title 3 times, and...
So it's leveraging your wins, right?
Yeah.
I think
leveraging what you do well.
Yeah, I think in recruiting, what a lot of people don't realize is everybody has wins. Maybe you didn't win the cup, or maybe you didn't win this huge tournament, but like it's leveraging the wins that you did have. Hey, we had the top pro up average rookie first year, like 2 years in a row. Or
that's awesome.
We did, we grew the fastest over the first year teams.
Yeah.
Or we, something that you just as the wins, because to a new guy that's doesn't know any different, I mean, that's the wins, right?
Yeah, you want to add whatever you're doing well that they want and get the right guys to your environment.
Do you feel like it was pretty motivating to fill the stands? Like that was a big motivator so that you could then keep your track record up and you could attract the right players? Do you feel like that was a big...
Totally. I mean, when reluctantly, they gave us a lease. We had to put down a huge, like $100,000 deposit. At that point, I'm like, okay, we need to start selling, because now I've spent all my money. I paid the arena $100,000 and I have no money yet coming in. So we started hammering, selling, which is what, from door to door, you can't just wait around for people to call you. I don't believe they will. I never believe people will call you. You always have to go out and get it.
So how did you do that? Yeah, you start a football team in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think of Washington as a big football state. I think it's South or whatever.
Yeah.
So what did you do to start knocking doors, essentially?
We started calling.
You did?
Yeah, we started calling, and we just had our pitch was basically, hey, we're new. You probably heard of us. Like, yeah, I've heard something about it. So it's going to be huge. We got guys from Oklahoma. We got guys from Miami. We got guys from Georgia. We have a couple WSU, which is the local Pac-12 team now. And we're going to be awesome, and it's going to be so much freaking fun. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, let's beat your high school football team.
Yeah, exactly. But we had to. A lot of people are like, well, I bet you if you took the very best college team here, they would crush your team. We had to kind of dispel that, like, nobody on this local team, maybe one guy could actually play for our team. But you had to dispel that. But what really motivated me was we're maybe 6 months into this process, getting ready for game one. We had sold about 1,500 season tickets. So money was coming in. It was good. But I was at the arena, and they had a few numbers on the board. It was like 300, 600, 800. And I'm like, what are those? I'm like, what are that? They're like, oh, that's what our prediction is for your attendance on the first night.
Oh, 600 people.
600. I'm like, you think we're going to have 600? They're like, yeah, I mean, someone said 800, though. I'm like, 800? I'm like, we got to prove this. I was so offended. I'm like, ugh, you guys don't know anything about selling. You don't know anything about we're going to go sell this thing out. So our first night, we had 9,200 something.
First night.
No one had ever seen a game before.
And you weren't giving like free tickets away. This
no,
was
everything
like,
was sold.
This was like
we never gave away free tickets.
Wow.
And I remember everyone was like, can you believe the crowd? I was so disappointed because it wasn't sold out. I was just bummed. I couldn't even enjoy the game.
And it's like they're telling 800. You should feel kind of a little good about it.
Oh, yeah,
yourself.
and we led the league in attendance that year. But from there on, for the next 7 years, we sold every seat.
And so you kind of had your raving fans, it sounds like. What'd you do to create raving fans? Because here's another piece that...
We had to deliver.
Yeah, I was going to say, like in door-to-door or starting a company, there's that 1,000 true fan rule, or there's raving fans. What did you do to deliver to keep getting those repeat customers?
Well, we promised excitement, and we promised great football. But really, you're selling... You're a mix between NFL and like the WWE. You're really selling 3 hours of pandemonium. And our first game, which is a lot of fortune to it, we won 41-40, a blocked kick with like 6 seconds left. We blocked it, we won. And
so we could call this the conflict almost. You're selling the fight, the battle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The intensity that comes with arena football that sometimes doesn't even come in NFL, to be honest.
Oh no, it totally doesn't.
I mean, it does, but that's why everybody loves it. But it's like arena is a new level of that. So in door-to-door, when you're trying to recruit people, or you're trying to even like, let's not even talk recruiting. Let's move on to customers, because your customers that you're trying to sell are these 10,000 fans, right?
And you need them to come back
over and over again, because there's
10
only
times a year for 10 years.
I was gonna say because there's not that many people in Spokane that are all football diehards, right? So it's like you have to capture the hearts and minds of these 10,000 people.
Yeah.
So if you're out knocking, so this would be for like the door-to-door rep. He's knocking a door and he's like, how do I capture the hearts and minds of this person to keep them as my happy customer for the next 10 years? Is the attitude that he has to have.
Totally.
So if we were to go through a couple principles of like, okay, what's the main thing? And like you said, you have to deliver.
Yeah.
What things or key points would you say, you're obviously in door-to-door now.
Well, yeah.
Like, what is your delivery?
Throughout the entire time, while I was running this football team, that was almost all my focus. But I had my satellite team going. I had my alarm team going. I always had at least 1 or 2 offices going, just because that's my roots. And once I was up 5 or 6 years in, I would really only knock like once a year, but I'd go out for like a week. Like a lot of the owners do, they'll go out for like a big challenge week. But I would go out kind of alone. I just want to see if I still have it. Like, do I still have it? I mean, could I go back if I had to? Like, I just got the itch, honestly. So I'd go like 3 or 4 days a year. I'd just kind of go to some small towns and just roll it up, mostly satellite. But anyway, you have to sell them on what you're going to do, and it has to be done exactly like that. You can't, if you're talking about getting repeat business, you can't snowball people. You can't push them into something. I mean, you might get the sale, but they won't have good things to say about you, and they won't keep coming back, and they'll cancel them. That's why you see churn rates are so massive in high-pressure pest or high-pressure alarm. The ones that stick with it are ones that are sold, good work happens, you follow up, make sure everything is going good. I probably didn't learn about following up with my customer until like recently. Once I made the sale, I never want to talk to that person again.
Yeah.
Now I follow up.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that. That's another thing I want to get into. So stay on this podcast if you're listening, because your strategy for comboing solar, alarm, satellite is actually something that we don't hear often. Yeah. So I want to dig into that strategy piece. But one more train on the whole football thing that is like on my mind.
I got some classic stories too.
I was going to say, I was like, I'm sure. Well, let me ask you this. Yeah. I'm sure you know a lot of cool athletes.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to try to get one to Door-to-Door Con. If there's anybody that comes to mind.
I'm sure I could find someone.
Because, I was like, man, it'd be sick to have some dope athlete come bring his story of success. Because one of the pieces that you watched was, because arena football is kind of a development league into the NFL, I'm sure a big focus of yours was kind of the coaching, owning this company. Obviously you owned it, but tell us about kind of how your development was, because as entrepreneurs and owners that are listening to this, or managers, your whole business is, how do I take this first-year rep that knows nothing about sales, and how do I bring him into becoming a future manager or an all-star versus, okay, he went from 100 to 200 to 500. Like, what did you do from these athletes that, came off of this, like, cut that they didn't make the NFL, they're in these dumps, and they're like, my life's over, I'm making $250 a month, like, you know what I mean, to, I see the light, I'm worthy, boom. Like, what were some of the practices you did there?
Well, I mean, it's so much is to the individual. I mean, you have to get the guy who has the most hunger and desire, and who really sees that vision and wants to go for it.
Because I'm sure some people are just like, I'm just here.
I mean, a lot of the guys are super talented, but they won't put in the work.
Yeah. Like, the
guys that you don't see 6'2", 6'1" defensive ends in the NFL, there's one. So you know that basically, if you're get 12 sacks in the Pac-10 or whatever, and you're a defensive end, but you're only 6'1", you're not making it. I mean, that's straight up genetics. That is what it is. But if you're 6'7", like I had a guy who was 6'8", and just a total freak, but really, I mean, quite honestly, he probably slacked off at University of Washington. Played some fullback, played some tight end, played some defensive end, until he finally got focused, like 3 or 4 years in arena. He went crazy, and then the Cowboys signed him. The way I view it with Door-to-Door is, and I have so much respect for all the guys that I'm listening to your podcast and the guys who've gone on and done incredible things in their business. I mean, it's super inspiring. I love to hear about it. And I love the podcasts. Got to have the hunger, and you got to give them the tools to succeed, and give them challenges, give them opportunities to grow. And oftentimes that means they're going to leave your company and go start something else. But after you've been around a long time, you start seeing the guys that left 7 years ago who have something, and they come back to you with an opportunity. Or, I mean, guys that work for you are coming back to you with opportunities or deals to get in on.
So it's not being afraid. Like, I'm sure that was a fear of yours, like, oh man, I'm going to lose my best player.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, that's a gift sometimes.
You had to let him,
like,
gotta let him go. Gotta let him go.
Too often, here's the issue. Like, and I ran into this at Vivint. It was like, I don't want to break off a team and have him go manage. I'll lose a lot of money. Yeah. Like, I'm going to make so much more money if they stay under me and they have this, like, hen under my chicken wing, like, you know what I mean?
You got them locked in.
You got them locked in. And I think that's the biggest flaw in management, leadership, and ownership, that we watch them because they're like, oh, I'll make X amount if I keep him here, and I'll make way less if I let him go.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're literally impeding people's future and like their development. Like,
yeah, totally.
And so I'm sure you watched that in this arena to NFL, and just, you're like, fetch, we just lost our star. Let's go get another one. And
that's what you have to do.
Yeah. So how, like, I'm sure that went through your mind of like, all right, we're rebuilding.
Well, I knew from Door-to-Door days that as soon as you get the guy, their objective is to leave.
Yeah.
The minute they get in Spokane, the minute you set up their apartment, they're like, listen, I am here to leave. And as long as they know that you're okay with that, the likelihood of the NFL calling them is slim, but it might happen.
But as long as they know you're okay.
Like, I'm like, dude, I'm going to do everything I can to put you in position. We're going to take care of you medically. We're going to give you good film. We're going to send the film. We're going to make calls on your behalf. I want you to succeed. If you succeed and people see you leave my program and go somewhere, I'm going to get your cousin, who also plays for UCLA. I'm going to get all these guys coming to me. So as many guys as we can move on the better.
Well, and that's what makes a great leader. And you realize that influence is really gained by that, because it's like, man, that guy created how many entrepreneurs, how many future managers, how many bad A's. And I think too often we are so scarce in tunnel vision. We look at it like this and we go, there's no one else like this guy. But it's like, yes, cousin could be even better. Yeah. And you just go repeat and develop and not have that fear. It's this abundant mentality that leadership needs to have.
They're going to want to send, like, I was thinking, listen to your podcast, like my son's 14. I don't know, really intelligent. He's more of a computer guy. Who would I want him to train with? It's probably not me, but I know some really good trainers. Yeah. I'm like, if you really want to learn selling, I would send you to this guy. Where I'm at currently, I'd rather have a guy who's owned his own business for 6 or 7 years and then wants to do something with me. But a new rep, I know a lot of guys who would train better than I would. And I would send them there and say, hey, when you're all developed,
come back. Yeah. It's this abundant mentality.
There's a guy, I don't know if you know who Mark Andreessen is. He's a Silicon Valley VC, but he put out a book that it's so competitive in Silicon Valley. But the whole thing is, your employees need to know that you're there for them. They expect you to leave. You say, listen, we're in this together for 2 years. If at 2 years you want to bounce. I'm all for it. I'm going to help you. I'm going to make calls on your behalf. But while we're here, let's do everything we can to solve this problem and succeed.
I like that mentality.
So I think you have to do that in
door-to-door. Because most people don't sign up for door-to-door saying, I'm going to be a door-to-door guy in 20 years. Yeah. And some people just need to recognize that. But the crazy part is, if you can create your rep as a true raving fan, they're going to be a long-term relationship. They're probably going to stick with you more than those 2 years that you commit them to. And they're probably going to send more people your way that were just as good as them when they move on.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, moving on. So, strategy. So, I want to really dive into how you do what you do now. Okay. So, right now you have Regal Satellite and Smart Home, Radiant Smart Home, which does solar and alarms, or just solar?
I kind of so I've been an alarm dealer 3 times. The first time ADT just shut their program down overnight. I don't know if you recall, but they were going Tyco security was going through some issues. They just shut their program down.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So I got into Monty a couple years later. So I've been around with them twice. Anyway, after I sold my team in 2014, I did 1 more year of football, helped some other people start their franchises. And then I thought, what's my next move? And I knew a lot of guys getting into solar, like end of 2013, early 2014. The buzz was big. 2015, people start getting purchased, and it's like, man, everybody I know.
I'm going to get bought for $50 million too.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody I knew from satellite and alarms, there was like this whisper, like, yeah, man, satellite's awesome, alarms is doing great, but dude, have you heard about solar? I mean, I just kept hearing that over and over, and I'm like, I'm sitting up here in the dark in Spokane. It's snowing. I'm like,
the sun doesn't even shine. No. You're like, oh, solar?
It doesn't come out.
I don't think I've ever seen a solar panel because we haven't seen the sun.
Like 4 months.
It doesn't work.
So I made a lot of calls, and I got an invite to come down to California to come check out a kind of a dealership program opportunity. I've always been one to own the whole thing, but this is one thing I'm like, it's so far out of my...
Oh, to do all the procurement, the fulfillment, the proposal, the engineering piece. I mean, that's what we do at Solstice. Yeah. It's like Kelly Walker, the owner, is just like, hey, man, let me just do all of that piece because nobody wants to do that piece because it's just a beast in and of itself.
I ended up talking to Kelly maybe like 7 or 8 years ago after the ADT thing shut down. Maybe it was maybe more than that. And I said, listen, all I want to do is sell it. Would you have an opportunity? But at that time, they weren't doing that. But anyway, so I came down to California. The sun was shining. And I called my wife. I'm like, I don't understand the opportunity exactly. But there's guys out selling solar, guys without my experience. I'm pretty sure I can make it work. So let's move to California for the summer and give it a 4-month run. If not, we go back, keep doing what we're doing. No big deal. Look for the next opportunity. Yeah. So came down here and it takes longer. And a lot of your guys in solar know that it takes longer than a month or 2 months to really get it. Yeah. No matter what you've done in the past.
It's hard to bring a guy off the streets.
Oh, it's really hard.
That's not making any money, has no reserves, to just say, all right, your first paycheck may come in 2 months, so figure it out.
Gets installed.
Especially, we're in like Orange County. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like solar has been hammered, and there's guys crushing it here. Yeah. But yeah, brand new first year guy, it's like, it's a beast.
So I came down thinking that I am now a solar company. I'm done with satellite, done with alarms, good riddance. If I never see or hear those names again, I'm all the better for it. Don't want to hear about them. So I came down, started doing solar, and I realized quickly that solar it's just been around so long that you start talking about solar, it's like solar, guys don't want to hear about it. So you had to get super creative. So experienced reps could do it. Experienced reps could adjust, but new reps, at least in my experience, I'm not saying I'm the best, but my experience, it was hard bringing a rep who had never knocked a door. At the end of the day, like, it seems like everyone hates solar. I'm like, dude, people don't hate solar. They just don't want to talk about it because it's confusing.
Yeah.
So after banging my head against the wall for a few months, making deals, getting installs, I was probably like 6 or 7 months into it. I was buying appointments at that time, doing some search stuff. But really, door-to-door is effective. One day I was out there, I'm like, you know what? I could get into a house talking about anything else from solar quick. So maybe I should lead with something else. Actually, it probably took me a year and a half to figure out this principle. And I'm like, my bread and butter was satellite for many, many, many years. I'm like, I'm going to try to just go in, sell them satellite, not say solar. Go sell them satellite. I'll get in the house, build a relationship of trust, and then feel around if they're a solar candidate. Because my assumption was if they're wanting to save money on TV, they're probably wanting to save money on electricity. But at the door, they don't want to talk about it. So I started doing that. I would sell satellite, go in, come back after the installation, follow up with my customer, make sure they're doing well, try to get a review on my website, and then say, hey, what are you guys doing for electricity? And they're like, oh, man, it's high. And you could go in and close that thing up in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, the wall is down.
It's done. They trust you.
Yeah.
You've already done what you promised. You showed up, you did it. It looks good. We cleaned up after ourselves.
So a lot of people have this fear of, oh, I don't want to like sell them too much. Like, I'm sure that's crossed your mind. Like,
crossed my mind a ton.
And now, doing it after a while, what do you have to say about
It's all about trust. And I had 2 days in a row last year where I sold someone solar, alarm, internet, phone, and TV. Like all 5 in one shot. And I did it 2 days in a row. And I'm like, it was not even my intention. They like you start saving them money, and I start saying, hey, what are you doing for this? And they're like, hey, do you guys do cameras by chance? Like, yeah, man, we do cameras. And I'm like, yeah, I do cameras. I do need to find someone to install it. So give me a couple days and I'll find an installer for that. But it really clicked on my mind that really it's all about trust. And that's what kind of shifted my focus from like, you're not really a solar company. You're in business, and you're in the business of giving customers what they want. And whatever that is, I was really selfish about I'm only solar. It's all about solar. Everything else sucks. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give my customers whatever they want. However the money comes in, money all lands in the bank account the same way. So, and
it's really serving them. It's like, hey, where are your holes and how can I fill those? And I think when you come with this mindset of, and this is even if you are just selling one product currently, it's still like so many people are so stuck on, I need to push this automation. Well, it's like maybe they don't care about a phone app. Yeah, maybe they just want the security piece that calls the police. Like,
I know you want the number, of course, and the commission.
Yeah, but it's like just serve them.
And deal, move on. Get somebody else, make them happy.
Yeah, and
get a referral.
So it's interesting that you say this because literally yesterday I was with Rob Harris. I don't know if you know him.
I know Rob. Yeah,
he's owner now at North Star. But I'm actually with Can't Knock This. We're developing a platform to really give back to door-to-door reps to where then they can cross-sell to other like preferred partners.
Love it.
So I'm basically with this is a sneak peek. So please do not steal.
You might be
this.
watching this after.
Yeah, I know. I'm like this is a piece that's getting in the works right now. So it's developing this platform for the entire industry to then.
I think it's really smart.
Yeah, it'll blow everybody away because it's like, dude, I would like to be in the house and sell them solar. They're wanting solar, but I sell alarms. So,
the thing that's so advantageous is you might hire a guy, but it's going to take him 3 months before he gets some money. He needs to make money today, and you don't want to float everyone's money or
you go broke.
Yeah.
Oh, and you've probably seen a fair share of that.
I've seen it for years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if my guy can go out and make a sale selling this, it doesn't really matter. Sell whatever you want to.
And it's the confidence booster too.
Yeah. He gets the money going. That customer is a referral. You have a name drop. Hey, I just serviced your customer over here, or service your neighbor. He'll say good things about me. Cool. So it doesn't matter what you sell him that's why I kind of changed my focus on that, saying, at first I was thinking about chasing solar across the country, and then I'm like, I'll just find a way to make it work in California and go from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. If you were to give one piece of advice to the door-to-door industry, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a heady. One piece of advice. I mean, work as hard as you can. Learn everything that you can from everyone you come in contact with, and be honest.
Cool.
That's 2 pieces of advice.
I love it. Be honest and work as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Well, Brady, I appreciate you being on the show, man. I'm excited
I love the
to
podcast.
see.
I listen to them all.
I'm excited for you to be a door-to-door con too, and build the relationship. Love it.
Love it. Appreciate it. All right.
Good man, dude.